Dust churned beneath the hooves of Wade Harlow's horse as he rode the long, empty stretch of Birch Hollow Road. The afternoon sun hung low and red, washing the landscape in a tired glow that matched the heaviness Wade carried in his chest these days. He was a quiet cowboy, the kind who rarely spoke unless he had something worth saying, and he had learned long ago that the world didn't always reward good men. Still, he tried to be one. He had been on his way back from delivering feed to a neighboring ranch, taking the old back road simply because it was peaceful. But fate rarely chose peaceful moments to step in. As he neared the crooked fence line of an abandoned property, his horse's ears flicked toward a faint sound, soft, hurried, afraid. Wade slowed. "Easy, boy," he murmured, scanning the surroundings. A moment later, a small figure burst from behind a leaning shed, a little boy, maybe 6 or 7, skinny as a twig and covered in dust. His hair was uncombed, his cheeks streaked with dirt and tears. He ran straight toward Wade with none of the caution a child should have around a stranger, which told Wade everything. Whatever he was running from was worse than anything he might be running toward. The boy skidded to a stop beside Wade's horse and tugged frantically at the cowboy's coat. "Sir, please, help." His voice cracked, hoarse from crying. "Please take my mama." Wade's heart kicked. He swung down from his horse, crouching so he was eye level with the boy. "Whoa, slow down, son. What's going on? Where is she?" The boy pointed toward the shed with a trembling hand. "She's hurt. She can't walk right." He got real mad this time. His lip quivered. "Please don't let him come back." Wade's jaw tightened. He didn't need to ask who he was. He'd seen bruised women before, county fairs, gas stations, back roads, looking down, apologizing, pretending nothing was wrong. It never came out of nowhere. It always came from a man who thought fear was a form of ownership. "What's your name?" Wade asked gently. "Liam." "Well, Liam, I'm Wade," he said, placing a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "I'm not gonna let anything happen to your mama, all right? Let's go see her." The boy nodded, wiping his nose on his sleeve as he led him toward the shed. Every few steps he looked over his shoulder, as if expecting a shadow to appear from the tree line at any moment. Inside the shed, the light was dim, slanting through broken boards and illuminating motes of dust drifting lazily in the air. In the far corner, half hidden behind an overturned crate, a woman sat curled tight, her arms wrapped around her ribs. Her clothes were torn at the sleeve, her hair hung in a tangled mess. But it was the bruises, dark, swollen, angry-looking, that made Wade stop cold. She tried to lift her head when she heard them. "Liam." Her voice was small but steady. "Mama." Liam ran to her, dropping to his knees. He placed his tiny hands on her arm as if trying to shield her from the world. "I found someone. He's nice, Mama. He'll help." The woman looked up at Wade then. Her eyes, exhausted, embarrassed, frightened, met his with a mixture of apology and caution. Women like her always apologized for the hell someone else put them through. "You don't need to be afraid," Wade said softly. "Mind if I come closer?" She nodded, but her body flinched at even the slightest movement. Wade approached slowly, kneeling beside her so she wouldn't feel cornered. "I can stand," she whispered, attempting to shift. Pain flashed through her eyes, and she sucked in a sharp breath. "Don't," Wade said, lifting a hand. "Let me look first." Liam pressed against her side, glaring at the invisible man who had done this. "Mama didn't do nothing wrong," he muttered fiercely. "He just gets angry." Wade felt a quiet burn settle in his chest. He had known men like that growing up, loud, proud, cowardly at their core. The woman tried to straighten again. "You don't have to help us, sir. We'll be fine. We just need a moment." "That moment already passed," Wade said gently but firmly. "You need more than rest." He looked at Liam, then back at her, then at the bruises spreading like storms across her skin. "You want me to take your mama?" he asked the boy. Liam nodded instantly, desperately. And without hesitation, with the heaviness of a man who knew exactly what he was stepping into but also exactly why he must. Wade nodded back. Wade carried Mara as though she were made of something too fragile for the world, glass, maybe, or a hope that had been dropped too many times. She didn't weigh much at all, but the exhaustion in her body made her feel heavier than any saddlebag he'd ever hauled. Liam walked beside him, gripping Wade's pant leg every few steps as if afraid he might disappear. Wade set Mara carefully on his horse, settling her sideways so she wouldn't have to strain her ribs. She winced but stayed silent, trying to hold herself upright with a dignity that made Wade's throat tighten. Women who had endured too much often learned how to hide the pain. He hated that she felt she needed to. You comfortable enough to ride? Wade asked. She hesitated. I don't want to trouble. You ain't trouble, he cut in gently, adjusting the blanket under her. Just hold steady, I've got you. Liam climbed up in front of Mara, and Wade swung into the saddle behind them, wrapping one arm around to steady the boy while the other kept the reins loose. The horse began moving, slow and deliberate, as if sensing the precious cargo on its back. The ride to the ranch stretched across open acres of quiet countryside. The wind rustled through the tall grass, and the sky broke into warm shades of evening gold. It should have been peaceful, but Mara's breath hitched with every jolt. Liam kept glancing back, his little hand wrapped around her fingers as though willing strength into her. Halfway home, Mara finally spoke, barely above a whisper. You don't even know us. Don't need to, Wade replied. I know someone needed help. That's enough for me. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could turn away. She wiped it quickly, as if ashamed of the weakness. Wade didn't call attention to it. Sometimes the kindest thing a man could offer was silence. When the ranch came into view, wide fields, white fences, and the steady glow of porch lanterns, Liam's shoulders loosened a little. It's big, he said quietly, awe flickering in his eyes. Built it with my own hands, Wade said. Took a long time. Is it safe? Liam asked. Wade gave the boy's shoulder a gentle squeeze. Safe as a place can be. They reached the house, where Claire, Wade's younger sister, was sweeping the porch. She froze at the sight of Mara's bruises, her eyes widening with immediate concern. Wade Harlow, Claire said, already stepping forward, what did you bring home now? A mother and her boy, Wade answered simply. Claire nodded, no questions needed. Bring her inside. The warmth of the ranch house wrapped around Mara the moment they carried her in. The scent of stew still lingered in the air, the fireplace crackled softly, chasing away the evening chill. Wade laid Mara gently on the sofa while Claire rushed for bandages and warm broth. Liam stayed right beside his mother, touching her arm every few seconds to make sure she was real. Mara watched everything like a woman expecting to be scolded for breathing the wrong way. You're safe, Claire assured her as she dabbed gently at the bruises. No one's gonna raise a hand in this house. Mara swallowed hard, staring at the bandage in Claire's hand. He'll come, she whispered. He always does. Wade stood at the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. He can come, he said in a voice that carried more promise than threat. But he won't leave with you. Mara squeezed her eyes shut. You don't understand. When he's drunk, I understand enough, Wade said, turning toward her. And I'm tellin' you plain, he's not talkin' you from here. Liam looked up at Wade then, really looked, and something shifted in the boy's face. Admiration, trust, a hope he hadn't dared carry until that moment. You won't let him hurt Mama again? Liam asked, voice trembling with the mix of fear and belief only a child could hold. Wade knelt in front of him. No, son, he said without thinking. Not while I'm breathin'. The word son slipped out naturally, unforced, and Liam leaned closer as if craving the protection behind it. Mara opened her eyes. For the first time since he found her, the trembling in her shoulders eased. Maybe it was the room's warmth. Maybe Claire's gentle hands. Maybe the cowboy standing like a quiet wall between her and the world. Whatever it was, for the first time in years, she felt the smallest hint of safety. Not trust, not yet, but the first breath that didn't scrape her lungs raw. Wade noticed it, and he made a silent vow that he would guard that small breath, guard it with everything he had. Night settled slowly over the Harlow ranch, the sky melting into deep shades of violet and navy. The lanterns on the porch glowed warm against the dark, casting soft light through the living room windows where Mara lay resting, finally able to breathe without flinching at every shadow. Liam had fallen asleep curled against her side, his small hand still wrapped in her sleeve. Wade watched them from the doorway, hat in hand. Something about the picture, mother and son clinging to one another after surviving one more cruel day, hit him with a weight he wasn't prepared for. People like them shouldn't have to beg strangers for safety. But the world wasn't fair, and it never fixed itself unless someone stepped into the storm. Claire touched his arm gently. You're doing the right thing, Wade. He nodded, eyes still on Mara. Right thing's not always easy. Claire's voice softened. This one's worth it. Before Wade could answer, the ranch dog lifted his head and gave a low growl. A moment later, the unmistakable crunch of boots on gravel echoed across the quiet yard. Wade and Claire exchanged a look. He came faster than I figured, Wade muttered. Claire stiffened. You want me to wake them? No, let 'em rest. Wade set his jaw. I'll handle him. He walked out onto the porch just as the man emerged from the shadows. He was tall but sloppy, his stance uneven, his breath sour with liquor even from several feet away. His clothes were dusty, and his eyes were wild with the territorial rage of a man who'd never been told no. "There you are," the man slurred, pointing an accusing finger. "You got something that belongs to me." Wade didn't move from his spot at the top of the steps. "You lost the right to call her that the first time you laid a hand on her." The man swayed, squinting. "You think you can take my woman? My boy, just ride off like some hero." Wade slid one hand casually to rest near the buckle of his belt, not threatening, just steady. "I didn't take anyone, she left. There's a difference." The man's face twisted, rage rose like bile up his throat, and he stormed forward, stomping up the first step. "Bring them out, now, before I drag 'em out." Wade stepped down to meet him halfway, blocking the man's climb. "You're not talking them anywhere." The man swung without warning, a quick, sloppy punch, fueled more by alcohol than strength. Wade stepped aside with the reflexes of someone who'd spent his life working cattle and dealing with rough men. The punch missed entirely, and the man stumbled. Wade didn't take advantage. He didn't need to. "Go home," Wade said, voice low but sharp enough to slice the night air. "You're drunk, and you're done hurting them." "Shut up," the man bellowed, reaching for his belt buckle as though he meant to turn a fight into something worse. That was when Wade moved. In one swift motion, he grabbed the man's wrist and twisted, not to break it, but enough to make him drop whatever he thought he could use. The man cried out, collapsing to his knees in the dirt. Wade leaned in, voice calm and deadly steady. "This is your last warning. Walk away. Don't come back. If you do, you'll answer to me and the law." For a moment, the man's bravado flickered, then collapsed completely. He looked up at Wade and saw something he wasn't used to seeing, a man who wasn't afraid of him. He spat on the ground, muttered curses, then staggered back toward the dark road, disappearing into the night with the limp bitterness of a coward who'd finally met a wall he couldn't bull through. Wade waited until he could no longer hear the boots on gravel before he exhaled. Inside, Mara had pushed herself up on the sofa, trembling. She must have heard enough. Claire stood beside her, steadying her shoulder. Wade stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "It's over," he said softly. Mara covered her face with both hands as tears slid through her fingers. They weren't the terrified tears Wade had seen earlier, they were the kind released only when someone realizes, for the first time, that they might be safe. Liam stirred awake, blinking up at his mother. "Mama, is he gone?" Mara pulled him close. "Yes, baby, he's gone." Wade stood there awkwardly, hat twisting in his hands. "You're safe here," he repeated. Mara looked up at him, eyes swollen, voice raw. "What, now? What do we do?" Wade stepped closer, not towering over her, just meeting her at eye level. "Now you heal. Take your time. There's room here for both of you. No expectations. No rush." Liam climbed down from the sofa and walked to Wade, small fingers reaching for the cowboy's hand. "Sir," he whispered, "can we stay? Please." Wade squeezed his hand, a soft smile pulling at his lips. "As long as you need. Both of you." Mara let out a breath that seemed to release years of fear. In the warm glow of the lantern light, she saw something she'd forgotten existed: steadiness, kindness, and a place where bruises didn't define her future. The cowboy didn't promise forever. But he promised safety, and for a woman who had never known peace, that was more than enough to begin again.